Did you like the picture on the on the screen of the tree? That was my you know, you click on the you see the picture on the video, you click on it. It's one of my favorites. Unfortunately, that's as good visually as this video is going to get. That was just a bit of bullshit to get you to click on it, really. A lot of people do that. But that's as dishonest as it's going to be if you carry on watching, because the rest of the content is honest. It's my story anyway. So I started tree work using the doubled line system, like most people did. When I say doubled line, it is the same line, it's not two lines, but it's doubled over high up, and it moves back and forth, and you have your hardware attached to it, which attaches to you, and that's how you kind of move yourself around in that back and forth motion. So I worked that system for many years, and I'd say about 10 years ago I was working on a job, nothing extraordinary, and I got a jolt in my back, in the upper back, and it was paralyzing, you know, almost. I was able to continue to work the rest of the day because I needed the money, but by the end of the day I was just, you know, could barely even look up. It was really, really bad. Never had anything like it before. I had lower back pains, but never anything like this. And so that put me out for a week, and the same injury would reoccur for years, perhaps 3 times a year, maybe 4 times a year, and this injury would come about without warning. I never kind of went to any kind of therapy for it, because you know, like chiropractors and stuff like that, because you know, the people I know who go to chiropractors and stuff, they seem to be going for the rest of their lives. You know, they never actually seem to get better, and it makes you wonder, is the chiropractor's goal really to make you better or to make you come back? I mean, that's just my observation, so I don't do anything like that. And anyway, but I had to live with this injury, and the worst thing about it was not knowing when it was going to happen, you know, because it may happen on the eve of something, of a really important job. I mean, it's bad to lose the money, but you lose other people money as well who are relying on you. That's even worse. So so that was just, I just accepted it, you know. The other, you know, long-term injury that I sustained was in my elbows, around those kind of regions anyway, the elbows and the forearms, you know, constant pain in there. And you know, I know a lot of people who had similar pains, and you know, I used to sort of try and stretch and massage and all that shit myself, but it never seemed to. It might help a little bit, you know. I tried them squeezy balls and stuff like that, and it certain things eased it, but it never truly got better. I used to think maybe it was to do with, you know, drop starting the chainsaws instead of starting them properly. You know, I used to start them with one hand on the trigger. You're sort of lazily doing that, and I thought maybe that's that jolting with the compression on the pull cord. I thought maybe that's what's built up over time, you know. Never considered it had anything to do with climbing. So that was where I was up to. You know, I could see my climbing career kind of coming to a close, not too many years ahead. In the meantime, this SRT system started to catch fire a little bit, or, you know, it began to, it was kind of getting publicized more and more. When I say SRT, I just mean a singled line which is fixed, rather than a doubled line which is moving, you know. So the line doesn't move back and forth, it stays tied, but it's just your hardware that moves back and forth with you attached to it. And I must admit, it didn't really capture my imagination much, because I didn't think it was being represented very well, and it looked very gear intensive and clumsy, and I couldn't really foresee it helping me at all, or making me any more efficient or better. So I just kind of ignored all that. And then sometime after this system came out that you see on here, this rope wrench, although it wasn't quite in this shape, it was an earlier version, a little bit bigger. This is the Mark II version, and you know, that kind of looked more promising, but you know, I was still skeptical about how much difference it could possibly make. You know, was this something that was going to, you know, increase my productivity? And I just couldn't envisage it, you know. And then funny, a guy at one of the trade shows called Rich Hattier, who I spoke to about the rope wrench, he was kind of you know, he wasn't the designer of it, but he was kind of selling it, you know, or promoting it for whatever reason. And I just dismissed what he was saying, like I normally do, because I'm such a know-it-all. And you know, Rich convinced me to try it at least, and said, just try it, I'll send you one, and then get back to me, you know. So I received one in the mail, and I tried it, and it was great. I was shocked at how, you know, what a difference it actually made. So I got back to Rich and said, thanks, Rich. I mean, there was a transitional period involved with making the switch, and you know what I mean, I had to make adjustments here and there, but overall it kind of opened up so many options, you know, to what and how I could go about doing tree work. Do you know what I mean? Within the canopy of a tree. So yeah, definitely, I was totally wrong about the whole thing. I'm very glad about it too. So, you know, I persevered, or have done, with this now for, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so, something like that. And it struck me the other day that I have no more injuries. You know, my back is cured, or seems to be. I haven't had an issue with it in years. Neither do I have any pains in my forearms. So I can only credit it to SRT, because of the, you know, the different body postures that you assume, different to the doubled line system. I mean, you know, when you think about my upper back, and you know, all this arm over arm stuff that you sort of do in a semi-horizontal posture, all that kind of jolting and jerking on your neck and upper back. I mean, you know, a few times here and there isn't going to make any difference, you wouldn't think, but you know, start talking 10,000 times, and it seems pretty logical that you may develop a repetitive strain injury, you know. So but you know, using the SRT system when you ascend, you know, or when you're moving any kind of semi-vertical position, you know, your posture is in tight with the rope. You know what I mean? Because your arms are only stopping you from tipping back, because you don't want to be tipping back, you know, and your legs, which were, apart from spurring, for years, you know, my most underutilized muscles, ironically the strongest ones in my body and in most people's, and they were redundant because I was relying solely on my arms, you know. So so that kind of makes sense, because I haven't done anything else differently, you know. And if I go back to this arm over arm stuff again, you know, forget the neck for a minute, just in general, just you know, just pulling your body weight around, or however much of it you pull around, you know, the wear I think on my elbows and joints came from doing this, because I'm still starting chainsaws in exactly the same way, because I'm too kind of set in my ways to change that, you know. I'm lazy and I don't really make the conscious effort to think. I just grabbed the saw and I started, you know, but that evidently wasn't the problem, otherwise I would surely still have it. So I blame both injuries on using the doubled line system. I do, you know, because there's no other reason why I would get better, you know, because I'm using SRT now. I'm actually more productive than I've ever been, because it's so much faster when, you know, when you actually learn and master it. It opens up so many more options than what doubled RT does, and with so much less effort as well that's involved. So you know, I say I'm more productive as in I'm doing more, I'm getting through more work in a day. I'm not getting through the same amount of work and then going home earlier. You know, I'll carry on until the day is done, but I'm actually getting through more work than I've ever done, you know. So hopefully I have many more years left in me to carry on doing the job that, you know, that provides me with a living. So through no credit to me, no foresight, switching to SRT has definitely, I think, rid me of the injuries that I thought were going to end my climbing career, and extended. You know, I can look further ahead. I feel great. I've never felt better, to be honest. So so yeah, really happy, and I just thought I would just pass that along. You know, I mean, there is adjustments to be made, and there is a transitional period, you know, because I know, you know, I'm sure it's very easy to start something new and then give up and think, oh fuck, I'm going to go back to what I've always done. That's too difficult, or I'm too old to change what I do now. Well, you're wrong. You know, you should persevere, because everything about it makes sense, but it's something that you have to do yourself and you have to persevere with. You know, it's not something somebody can tell you how great it is. You have to experience it yourself. So, and a word to kind of, I mean, there is some benefits left in doubled line technique. You know, I still kind of use them for easy trees, and sometimes I just, you know, many times I've chosen to use doubled line technique on certain jobs. I've thought, well, that's the better choice. You know, I've got choices, this is going to be the better choice. But kind of minutes into, you know, making that choice, I regret it, and I think I should have used single line. On the other hand, I've never used single line and regretted it and wished I'd used double line. You know, I mean, the advantages of this really are so few. Now, what is it, like crane work maybe, transferring between trees? There's really not much else where it is you are gaining an advantage, you know. But like I say, you do have to make the transition. And you know, a word to designers and manufacturers and investors of the doubled line equipment, you know. I can imagine it was quite upsetting when this single line stuff caught fire and is continuing to grow in popularity, you know. And it's probably tempting to throw up a few roadblocks too. But you know, you should never stand in the way of progress. And you know, if you really care about, you know, the people that do this job, then, you know, best to get on board rather than get in the way. You know, you might be able to add or help. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. I hope that, you know, you take something from this. It's just my story. I'm sure there's plenty that might disagree because it doesn't match their own story, but you know, I'm telling the truth. I think had I carried on with this now, I'd have probably been finished already, you know, in regards to tree climbing. The single line is just it's been a godsend. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.